Welcome back to London's Dark Archives. In our last episode, we ventured into the murky underworld of 1960s Britain, where a motley crew of skilled criminals began to form an alliance, and the seeds were set for what would become the Great Train Robbery. We met the charismatic Bruce Reynolds, the resourceful Douglas Goody, and the silent menace of Charlie Wilson, and the ever-colourful Ronald Buster Edwards, among others. Each had a story of hardship, ambition and survival that prepared them for the biggest score of their lives. Today, we'll delve deeper into how that audacious idea began to take shape. With the groundwork laid and intelligence gathered, including a brief reminder of the enigmatic Ulsterman, the gang moved from planning small-time jobs to envisioning a heist that would shake the very foundation of organised crime in Britain. In this episode, we'll explore the moment when theory met strategy and a blueprint for robbery was meticulously drawn up and communicated among them. Let's step into that secret world of late night meetings, chalkboard diagrams and whispered conspiracies. A world where every minute detail was critical and every member knew their role down to the second. With the intelligence gathered and the team assembled, the next critical step was to put flesh on the bones of the idea. It weren't a spur-of-the-moment decision, it was a carefully engineered plan that took shape over weeks of secretive meetings in London. Bruce Reynolds, the mastermind, led these sessions with a blend of determination and meticulous detail. In a rented flat in South London, far from prying eyes, Reynolds began laying out the blueprint for what would become the Great Train Robbery. He would often stand before a large chalkboard, his eyes scanning a series of hand-drawn maps and diagrams that traced the Royal Mail's train's nightly journey. On that board, he marked every crucial element, the precise location where the train be halted, the timeline for each phase of the operation, and the points where each gang member would be deployed. Reynolds' methods was as theatrical as it was practical. With a bit of chalk in his hand, he would outline the train's route from Glasgow to London, highlighting a critical stretch in rural Buckinghamshire near Brideo Bridge. It was here that his plan would come to fruition. He detailed how a particular signal, normally a beacon of safety, would be manipulated. Instead of fabricating an entirely new device, the gang's ingenious twist was to use what already existed, a simple yet effective modification. Reynolds explained that by covering the green light with a glove and powering the red light with a 6-volt battery, they could force the train to halt as if it was following its routine commands. Every detail, from the placement of the glove to the time of the battery's activation, was carefully considered. During these meetings, every member of the gang was assigned a specific role. Douglas Gordon Goody, ever the reliable deputy, was tasked with coordinating the technical aspects of the signal manipulation. His deep understanding of logistics and his knack for problem solving meant he could anticipate potential snags before they occurred. Meanwhile, Buster Edwards and his team were briefed on how to quickly move in and secure the mailbags once the train was halted. The roles were not merely assigned, they were explained in vivid detail, with Reynolds ensuring that every nuance was understood. Questions were met with precise answers, and dissent was ironed out in the open. This was a plan that demanded unanimity and absolute trust. Reynolds didn't rely solely on verbal briefings. Alongside the chalkboard diagrams, he distributed handwritten notes and sketches that served as a reference for each member. These documents outlined the timeline down to the minute of the entire operation. They specified when the train would approach, how long it would take to bring to a stop, and the window of opportunity during which the money could be offloaded and the gang could vanish without leaving a trace. The gang would also meet to play football, have a kickabout in the park and then huddle together to talk over the plan. To anyone looking from the outside, it would just look like they was discussing football tactics, a genius example of hiding in plain sight. The communication was clear and direct. Each member knew not only their role, but also how their actions interlocked with the task of the others. Timing is everything, Reynolds would remind them, stressing that even a few seconds delay could mean disaster. This was no amateur caper. Their plan was a symphony of calculated moves, where precision was the only language that could guarantee success. Here's how the plan was set into motion. First, assembling the team in the vehicles. The gang was split into specialised groups. All members converged at a discreet rendezvous point, a nondescript garage in South London where a convoy of carefully chosen vehicles awaited them. Roy James, renowned for his driving prowess, was in charge of the lead getaway car, a modified vehicle prepped for high-speed escape. The other vehicles, chosen for their reliability and nondescript profiles, lined up in a formation designed to block any pursuing vehicles once the heist was underway. 2. Disguise and deployment. To avoid arousing suspicion, the gang adopted the guise of wearing military uniforms and overalls. They painted the Land Rovers and trucks they'd use. The idea was that they wouldn't attract attention or questions from the public, and if anyone did stop them to ask what they were doing, they could just say there was a military unit performing a training exercise, again hiding in plain sight. 3. Positioning at the intercept point. Under Reynolds' guidance, two groups moved out separately. One team, led by Reynolds himself, advanced on foot to a predetermined spot near the tracks where natural cover of thick hedgerows and low-lying terrain provided concealment. Here, they had already scouted an area and identified the precise location where the train's momentum could be disrupted with minimal risk of observation. 4. Manipulating a signal. The crux of the plan hinged on a deceptively simple yet ingenious trick. At the chosen point, one of the team's members was assigned the task of tampering with an existing railway signal. Instead of constructing a fake signal from scratch, they opted for a subtle modification. The plan was to block the green light with a glove, removing it from its case at just the right moment, while simultaneously using a 6-volt battery to power the red light. This alteration would cause the train's driver to interpret the signal as a genuine command to stop, bringing the train to a halt exactly where they needed it. Number 5. Coordinating the timing. Every action in this operation was timed to the second. Detailed schedules had been drawn up, outlining when the train was expected to reach the intercept point, how long it would take to decelerate, and a narrow window during which the offloading of cash could occur. Reynolds' chalkboard was filled with minute-by-minute breakdowns, a testament to the precision demanded by the plan. Each member was instructed on their specific time slots, ensuring a seamless transition from one phase of the operation to the next. 6. Role allocation and communication. The plan was disseminated through handwritten notes and diagrams. Each gang member received a detailed briefing outlining their exact responsibilities. For example, while Reynolds and his immediate team handled the signal manipulation and initial crew control, Buster Edwards and his group were tasked with swiftly moving into the train's cargo compartment. Their objective was to secure the banknotes, packed in 120 sacks, while others maintained perimeter security. Meanwhile, Roy James and his designated drivers were prepped to launch the convoy the moment the cash was secured, following a pre-planned route designed to evade detection. 7. Escape to the safe house. Once the money was offloaded, the escape was to be executed in perfect synchrony. The convoy would speed away from the scene, leaving behind no trace. Their ultimate rendezvous point was Leatherslade Farm, a secluded hideout purchased well in advance. There, the gang would have the luxury of time to count, divide, and sort out the cash, all while staying under the radar until the heat subsided. With every detail mapped out, the gang transformed a daring idea into a comprehensive, calculated plan. Every role was assigned, every risk acknowledged, and every second was accounted for. They knew the stakes was enormous. The Royal Mail train carrying millions in used banknotes on its nightly journey was about to become their target, and they had engineered a method to bring it to a standstill with ruthless precision. Their disguise was as unassuming as it was strategic. It allowed them to approach the scene without arousing suspicion. Their convoy, comprised of reliable, unremarkable vehicles, was chosen to avoid any hint of military pomp, ensuring that even if spotted, they would remain inconspicuous. But as the final piece of the plan fell into place, there remained one crucial question. Could all these intricately planned elements hold together and put to the ultimate test? The answer lay just ahead. In our next episode, we will witness the execution of this grand design. We'll follow the gang as they set their plan into motion, tracking every nerve-wracking second from the moment the train's false red signal forced it to stop to the frantic offloading of cash, and finally to the high-speed escape back to the farm. How did the carefully drawn blueprints translate into action? And what unforeseen challenges would they face when theory met reality on the dark tracks of rural England? Join us next time as we dive into the execution, a moment where the plan that had been built with such meticulous care was finally put into motion, setting the stage for one of the most infamous heists in British history.